Nice car.
Hey, thanks, man. Yeah, she's really nice. You got yourself a nice ride over there with your baldy girlfriend. What is this, a Supra? Really nice.
What's the retail on one of those?
Well, it depends, but this thing is such a steal. You got a V8 in there, rear-wheel drive. You can find one for like $10,000, $15,000, depends where you are. Amazing deal, lots of horsepower. It's a bit old, but she goes pretty fast. You know, it really rides really smooth. I'm pretty sure I can smoke you with this, although it doesn't look very stock, but...
Smoke.
I wasn't ready, man. The model that you see over here, it was kindly provided to us by one of the local owners that are located in Toronto. And this thing that you see here is actually for sale. So if you're interested to buy, whether you live in the US or Canada, don't forget to check out the link in the description below with all the details. But today, we want to talk about this model and how important this thing is for the AMG and Mercedes brand. The W210 E55 AMG made its appearance somewhere in 1996, 1997, but it was available for sale from 1999 till 2002. In fact, my father actually owned the W210, of course, not the E55 AMG, but just the standard one. And I've always had sort of like a crush about these cars, especially the way this thing is designed. One thing that I really love about this thing that today's cars are missing is the fact that the size, it's a proper sedan. What I mean with that, if you had to park this beside the new Mercedes E-Class, you'd notice how much smaller this thing is and how much bigger the inside is in comparison to the Mercedes E-Class, let's just say a 2023 model. Like, for example, the interior is so much more spacious. The car is so much more smaller on the outside. One thing particular that I love about this car is the front end. I remember these called the teardrop headlights because they kind of look like a teardrop. So you have the larger one over here, then you have the smaller on this side. In fact, even the W211 sort of continued with this similar design, just a much larger vehicle. And in fact, I saw one as I was driving this today, and it definitely felt and looked smaller than the successor to this model. One thing you gotta love about this car is the little quirks. Like, for example, you see these parts under the headlights. Well, they're the actual headlight washers, and in fact, they work. In fact, majority of the things in this car work very, very well. Then we have the fog lights at the bottom. Now, the license plate that you see here, I believe this is a custom one, but it does have the original stickers of the Deutschland, Germany in this case. The grille is another one. I love the Mercedes badge at the top over here. This is literally the symbol of what Mercedes offered back in the days. And we have the chrome finish under the actual headlights. This thing looks so modern, yet it's from 1999. The most expensive parts in this car are actually these monoblock wheels with the AMG logo. In fact, the owner says that a lot of people call him just for the wheels. That just tells you how valuable and also how popular this car still is. And in many ways, the value just keeps climbing, especially because these are becoming so rare now. Either they're trashed or they have way too many kilometers or not as clean as the one that we have in this video. Mind you, these are 18-inch wheels, which for that time weren't that popular or widely used. Hence why this was sort of over-engineered in many ways. Like, for example, the rear tires are 275 by 35, which in 1999, again, not many cars offered that option. Another thing to mention about the German over-engineering is the fact that you have these two spots, like holes, one at the back and one at the front. You're probably wondering, in case you didn't know, what's the use of these? Well, you see, the car is equipped with a jack, and the only way to lift the car would be by inserting the actual jack into one of these holes. That way you can lift the vehicle. The idea behind this was that you had easy access to lift the vehicle in case if you had a flat tire. But what is also very important to note is the fact that this does come with a spare tire, and it is also the same wheel that you see here, the monoblock style. One important thing to mention about the W210 design is the side mirrors. You see, this is technically the first car that had full side mirrors. What do I mean by that? Well, the previous model had one large on the left side and a square smaller on the right side. This has pretty much the same size for both sides. Of course, because this is a full AMG, Mercedes had to go a little bit further in terms of engineering this vehicle. Like, for example, we have this heat disposable or exchanger, whatever you want to call it, on top of the hood, so that in case if the engine gets too hot, well, their heat has to escape somewhere, so they designed this area. In fact, when you open the bonnet or the hood, you can see specifically how this thing is designed to basically get that heat out of the area over here so that the engine cools down faster. Another thing I love about the W210 is the door handle, specifically the one on the driver's side. What you see in here is, of course, for the key fob. This is in case if the actual key fob does not operate well. How do you open the door? Well, you insert the actual key in here to unlock the vehicle. But right beside that, you have a little square. So you're probably wondering, what is that? Well, that is for the signal for the automatic open and lock. So when you press the button, it sends a signal right into here to lock or unlock the vehicle. Moving on to the back side, of course, even over here, you can tell the over-engineering by Mercedes. Like, for example, we have the badges, which is technically the first time that the E55 badge has been used. It's in this vehicle, the W210, and then it says onto the right side of the vehicle, AMG. But one thing I did notice is the actual Mercedes badge in the center. You see, they haven't just placed the badge there. They've made sure that it matches with the surface. So the surface over here is curved, so is the badge. I love the little details. The next thing I want to talk about is the exhaust tip. Now this has a dual exhaust tip on one side. Unlike the BMW E39, which used a quad exhaust system, Mercedes went a bit the other way, where they offered only that kind of system. Now, that depends how you look at it, but I think it makes the car very special and very, very different. Because I have reviewed newer cars, one thing I realized with this vehicle is the fact that you can actually see the difference in terms of trunk space between this and a newer Model E class. What I mean with that? Well, if we pop the trunk over here, you open it up and you can clearly see the difference in size, how much bigger this thing is in terms of trunk space in comparison to the new Mercedes E-Class. In fact, you can probably fit another person here comfortably and have a 6-seater in total. And underneath, of course, it does have a spare tire, which I mentioned previously, but another thing it does have is a CD changer. So in case if you want to play CD, you have to go all the way to the back, put a bunch of them there, and then you can change them from inside. Of course, this is an old technology, but it's just cool to know that this had a CD player, and it also comes with it, which is, again, very impressive. Another little detail that I'm obsessed with this car is the actual lever to open the bonnet, or the hood in this case. Once you pull the lever on the inside underneath the steering column, well, you basically lift this a little bit and the actual handle pulls out, so that way you can grab it, pull it, and then open the hood. Which brings me to this, the 5.4 liter V8 naturally aspirated gigantic monster, making 345 brake horsepower and 391 pound-feet of torque. But that was, of course, over 3,000 RPM. Under that, it made about 294 pound-feet of torque. It uses 5-speed automatic transmission, and it is a rear-wheel drive, of course, with different driving modes, which I'll explain to you in a minute. But one thing you got to notice about this car is that back then in 1999, this did 0 to 60 in about 5 seconds. Now, to most of new guys, the new petrol heads, that might not be a lot, but back then it was. In fact, even today, this thing, it's pretty fast. It's not, well, let's say a C63 fast, but it's still pretty quick. And one thing that I love about this car, which reminds me about newer sedan, is the fact that it was so much lighter, and it still is much lighter in comparison to new sedans. Like, this weighs about 3,650 pounds. A new sedan like the Lexus IS 500 weighs about 3,900 pounds, which just says that cars are just getting heavier and heavier every year. I also love a little details, like for example, the pack over here, it says vehicle emission control information, and it says what model it is, and it also tells you where the battery is located. On top of that, it also says on the side here, for the leveling of the headlights, what percentage you need to have it to make sure that the headlights operate correctly. I love the little details about this car, and of course the most important one, which is the signature of Mercedes, the single windshield wiper in the front. Oh, these seats are so comfortable. It's really comfortable in here. I drove it for a bit, and it's just, they don't make cars like this anymore. So spacious, and the little cute details. So let's talk about the interior of this thing. First of all, the side door panel over here. We got 3 memory settings, and not just for the driver's side, also for the passenger. Of course, power seats, and the same thing as new Mercedes, which I believe this was sort of like the beginning of this kind of design, where the control unit for the seat is located on the door panel. But not just that. You see, they've made your life so easy, and of course that over-engineering concept, that the steering column adjustment button, it's not located onto the actual steering column. It is located on the door panel, right beside where you have the module for the seat. So that way you have easy access. Then move on to the center, where we have this beautiful cluster. Of course, totally analog, because back then they really cared about the little details, with the AMG right in the center. And moving on to the steering wheel, this beautiful thick steering wheel that even after 210,000 kilometers, or about 110,000 miles or so, it's still nice and solid and grippy. It is a unique design to the E55 AMG, with the AMG badge right under the Mercedes logo. Of course, the key fob, another great thing, which Mercedes continued to use, I believe, up to 2018. I saw the same key fob used from this model, and it just shows you how good the design of this thing was. Now, here's what you do. You insert in here, and it unlocks the car. Then you twist it. Now it turns on basic and accessory mode. And then you start the car. And that beautiful V8 starts. Now, moving on to the center console over here, of course, this is equipped with buttons. Yes, physical buttons that I love playing with. I know this is weird, but they're so satisfying just pressing them. absolutely love that. The top side, you have heated seats. Yes, passenger and driver side, you have heated seats. Then you have the rest of the buttons. The wind, you have the headlight washer. You press that and the things pop out. Then you have the hazard lights in the center, unlock for the interior. Of course, there's the towing option. You can turn on that option over there where it tells the vehicle that the vehicle is being towed. Then you have the heated seat for the passenger side. Moving on to the bottom, this actually has an air condition. Of course, it's 1999, so it's not too long ago. But what I love the most is that it has a little screen in the center to show you the temperature, the fan speed, and so on. Something that it's also used nowadays in many new vehicles, but they don't have physical buttons like this. And most importantly, this does have the original stereo. Yes, it has a Mercedes-Benz stereo, which, by the way, comes with a code card. So in case if you lock it, guess what? You can use that code to unlock the stereo, which is, again, the over-engineering of the Germans. Bottom side, you have more space there. You can use it. That would be sort of like for your phone in this case, in this time, or maybe coins. Some people used to put it coins, lots of coins over there. Then move on to the center area where the gear knob is. This is, of course, a 5-speed, but it does have a button over here that says W and S. W stands for winter. The car starts, I believe, in first gear. Then standard, it starts in second gear. I might have it in reverse. One of those things. Then it shows the gear numbers because this doesn't have a paddle shifter. So if you want to use the first gear in manual mode, you can do it through here, which again shows you how well ahead this car was for 1999. Now, in comparison to the BMW M5, this model did not come with a 6-speed manual transmission. In fact, it did come with an all-wheel drive. It was an option up to a certain point, which not many people ordered because why would you? Then move on to the buttons over here, which has 4 buttons specifically for the windows. For the 2 in the front and 2 in the back, you can control straight from here. Again, just shows you how advanced this car was. Moving on to the sunshades, it has a rear sunshade which can be operated with the button located right in the center. And it does have a child lock, but unlike newer vehicles that you have it on the door panel, this has it right in the center. You press that and it locks the rear door so that the kids don't open the door. Then if you want to adjust the side mirrors, well, you have again another control unit here in the center. But what's also pretty cool about this car is the actual cup holders, which is located right in the center over here. You press that, it pops out, and here you go. You have a cup holder, which is totally hidden. Another thing that I love about this vehicle. And the last thing that I want to mention about this car, which is, again is one of my personal favorite things, is the actual sunroof. Yes, this car does come with a sunroof. Not bad. Not bad at all. For a 1999 car, this thing drives pretty well and it shifts quickly. That's really impressive. In many ways, this is better transmission than a CVT, for example, or a new automatic transmission, even though it's a 5-speed. It's so comfortable inside of this car. It's so spacious, so roomy. It drives nicely. I could just hang like this here and just chill. Or you can just make it a little bit more interesting and give it a go, and this thing can go. It can do that. The way this thing handles, even after 210,000 kilometers, I'm just look at the exact kilometers right now, 210,186 kilometers, this thing is going. I love the sound of that V8. I love the sound of that V8. It's so good. It actually sounds better than the IS500, which is a 2022 model. I absolutely love the design of these beauties. And even the road noise, it's not that noticeable. Now, mind you, again, it's an old car, so you expect to have a bit of that road noise. It's not the same as when it was new, but for its age, it's not bad. You can have a conversation inside. You don't hear the road noise as much. The suspension system is soft. It's softer than some performance cars of today. I feel very privileged that I have the opportunity to drive one of these, because these are not the same as just going to the dealer and taking for a test drive a new Mercedes C-Class. These things, talking about C43 right there, you can go and test drive one of those, but these are so rare to find that for me, I'm so privileged that I have the opportunity to actually drive this thing and know what it actually drives like. That sound is superb. Superb.